Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim recently announced salary increases for the civil service ranging from 7 to 15%. Now, this move, while welcomed by many civil servants, raises questions as to whether it will improve public service delivery and be the beginning of a much-needed civil service reform. Joining us to explore the financial, social and policy implications of this move, we have Professor Dr Roselina Ahmad Saufi, Professor at Universiti Malaysia Kelantan's Graduate School of Entrepreneurship and Business. Professor Roselina, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Can I begin our conversation by asking you what you make of the recent salary increases for civil servants? Are they justified given the current economic conditions?
Right, thank you very much, Melissa. Very good morning to our audience. Okay, so I think the announcement by the PMX on the salary hike among the government servant is a very good move after about 10 years of lab. Okay, and it highly commendable action in view of the current economic situations. If you look at economic situations now, it's very robust, it's very demanding at the moment, not just for the not just for the government servant, I think for the rakyat at large. So I think it is justifiable for the recent salary hike by the PMX.
Are you concerned that there could be a risk it could strain public finances? I mean, we know that the federal government expenditure for emoluments is a significant portion of our budget. Are you concerned that this could strain public finances or also increase inflation? Because now we have more money in people's pockets, so more money in circulation.
All right. From the government perspective, of course, definitely there will be increase in the operational expenses, especially on the part of emolument, because that is standard. When the government announce on the increase of salary, so the proportion for the emolument budgeted must be allocated, and definitely it will be inflated, right? From the economic perspective, all right. Okay. Actually, when the salary is increased, okay, what is the implication on the rakyat? People have lots of money. Okay, people have lots of money to purchase. So when people have a lots of money to purchase, maknanya that imply the consumption power is bigger. So if the consumption power wider, that should not increase the inflation rate. Perhaps it may reduce the inflation rate because people tend to spend more in the market.
Okay, all right. And if we were to zoom out, what broader implications do you see coming from this pay hike?
Okay. From two angles, from the positive and from the negative side, I have to be honest. Okay, from the positive side, if I were the financial institutions, so this is a good opportunity which I could offer more financial schemes, borrowing schemes to the rakyat, because this is the opportunity I have to write. Okay, because rakyat now has a bigger amount of money where they can borrow. They can make borrowing. So from financial institutions, if I am a businessman, yes, it's a positive for me. From the rakyat perspective, from the community perspective, of course, back in our mind, that every time when government announce the salary, that there is a hike on salary, definitely it will follow through with the increase in the goods price, right? So my worry, honestly, it will happen. It will happen because as a trader, I've found it, well, this is the opportunity which I can increase the price because people can buy more and people are willing to buy. So this is where, from the traders perspective, this is now also an opportunity for them to increase the price. But the question is, okay, how would the government prevent from the increase in price of goods?
So what would you like to see the government do so the rest of the country is not also seeing the rise in prices of goods?
Okay, all right. What the government need to do? Okay, when the salary high, so there is a motivation factor to the government servant. So this is the time for the government servants to show their efficiency and effectiveness in controlling the price of the goods. Who is actually mandated to control the price of the goods in the market? Goes back to the government, to the relevant ministry. So please ensure the officer in charge from the relevant ministry to go down to the market, to the traders, okay, to the retailers, that look at the prices, what sort of prices that they will decide for their goods. Okay, so a stringent control mechanism must be enforced by the government, the relevant ministry.
Hmm. Prof. Roselina, can I ask you the hike in the civil service salaries? How might that compare to salaries in the private sector? Do you think that by this remuneration adjustment, that could lead to attracting more talent to the private sector?
Definitely. In fact, okay, let's ask ourselves why there are lots of talents out there prefer to work in the government because of security reason. That is the main reason. It's not so much of the salary scale, but the security. So in view of this salary high, definitely it will attract more talents to join the government servant. But comparing between the government salary scheme and the private salary scheme, I would say now very competitive, very competitive. And I wouldn't say that, I have to say that not all private sector actually be able to match what the government is offering. Only the giant corporations, maybe like Petronas, Shells, okay, Sam Dabi. So this kind of big players, big brothers will be able to offer much higher salary. But the smaller player, okay, they are not able to match the high salary scheme from the government.
Right. And do you think that these pay hikes will, boost morale of public servants and therefore lead to improved public service delivery?
Yeah, this is a very sensitive question, actually. you know, Technically or hypothetically, it should be when the salary is high. Of course, motivation should high. But honestly, I doubt it. Okay, I have to mention it because without a proper enforcement by the top management, okay, on the way the government servants are providing or rendering their services, okay, it will not go further high up a better improvement. Okay, but this is very critical actually for government servant. Okay, to prove the service delivery is effective and efficient, and in order to ensure that, the control mechanism must be placed. It has to be very stringent this time. There's no tolerance in terms of performance and quality of services provided by the government servant.
Right. So having said that, how do you think that would be best achieved? What other reforms within the civil service, the entire ecosystem, what do you think is needed to improve the efficiency, the accountability, and the overall public service delivery?
To support the efficiency and the quality of the public service delivery, in my opinion, there are two things, major transformation that needs to be done. One, to revisit the red tapes mechanism currently. I think we have so much bureaucracy is okay, right? But the red tapes, okay? So these red tapes, okay, has to be revisited across all levels, horizontally and vertically in any organization. So that implies from the top management to the lower management at the supporting staff level. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there is a need for leadership transformation. To me, this is very crucial again. right? Okay, and we heard many downline people complaining. Okay, I don't mind to say, if we were to touch the group, people are saying, rakyat are saying, why? How come they become DG? How come they become director? How come they become vice chancellor? Or how come they become senior officer when they don't have the right qualification? Not to mention experience. Okay, so I think this has to be dwelled very exhaustively by a special task force looking at the talent pool and talent competency um, at all levels, not just at the top management, at the mid level, as well as at the lower level.
Right. And in the minute that we have left, is there anything you would like to add to for us to consider as the civil service pay hike is implemented in the coming months?
Right. So I just would like to advise to all my colleagues in the government servants, okay, take it as an amanah, right? So whatever you earn is amanah. So provide the best services with a very high accountability and integrity.
Professor Roselina, thank you so much for being on the show with me. That was Professor Dr. Roselina Ahmad Saufi from Universiti Malaysia, Kelantan. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. Let's continue our discussion about the soon-to-be implemented salary hike for Malaysia's civil service. This we're going to be seeing raises from between 7 to 15%. Joining us now to discuss this further is Dr. Lee Hwok Aun, who is a senior fellow of the Regional Economic Studies program at ISEAS Yusof Ishak Institute in Singapore. As well, he's also the coordinator of its Malaysia Studies program. Hwok Aun, thank you so much for being on the show with me. What do you make of these of the recent salary increments for the civil service? Do you think that it's justified?
Hi, Melissa. Yeah, it's good to join you on this topic. I think it's something that we have been expecting, both in terms of what has been pronounced, or the Prime Minister had already indicated this was on the way, and I think some would even regard this maybe as overdue, since it's been more than 10 years since a review. So I think in that sense, it is timely. I think also in light of concerns about wage levels, especially for the lower and middle income households or middle income earners, it's something that would be certainly welcome. And I think it's also part of a shift that has taken place, not an abrupt one, but over the course of many years. I mean, I just want to had a look at some of the data and was able to trace to see the composition of the civil service. And so one of the things that has changed in terms of the overall composition is that the gradual increase in the share of those in the professional category, and correspondingly a smaller share of those in what they call pelaksana, right, implementation staff, which I think used to be around 70% if you go back 15 years, and now the pelaksana are about 55%. So and over time as well, the rate of increase in employment of the public sector has also slowed down. So not decreased, but it's slowed down. Used to be around 3% per year, and I think some of the latest figures are more like 0.5% per year. So I think it's moving in the direction of being a little leaner, a bit more professionalized, adopting digital technology, right, and trying to implement ways to be more keeping up to speed with the times in terms of technology and how the government is offering its services. So I think there's a few developments that are happening concurrently.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about what these salary hikes might mean for the federal government's expenditure on emoluments. We know it's already a significant portion of the budget. How sustainable are they in the long run? I think it's going to cost some 10 billion ringgit, additional 10 billion ringgit a year.
Yeah, I that's the number that was given, and I think it's also been eased out over 2 phases, right? So the rollout will take place at 2 stages. It seems like it's not a small amount, right? Obviously, something like this affecting 1.6 million employees for the government is going to be significant. But I think it is also something that government, can really have a good handle in terms of the numbers, right, and the projections, that can be done with considerable accuracy. It's not a kind of expense, that could risk suddenly ballooning, because the numbers are all in place. This whole the wage scheme, and as well as the recruitment figures. So I think it's really a question, then of prudential management, continuing with undertaking this, which will be one major one-off expense, and of course it will continue to be something that will have to be managed. But I think if it's undertaken right in the spirit of all the various other developments in terms of making the civil service leaner, more professionalized, more effective and efficient, then I think that is moving in the right direction.
Right. Do you see this contributing to maybe better public service delivery?
I mean, I would hope so. I think that is the intention. I think it's a huge question, right? And I think we have to unpack that at various levels, because public service has 1.6 million employees, right? And it's very tiered, and they're doing all kinds of different works, and some of it, is a very more routine, right? And I think maybe more quantifiable, where actually you could keep track, you could set targets, right, and implement, I think, monitoring and performance schemes and incentives, that can be a little bit more regimented, and so you can keep track of, how many reports are written, or the speed of response and that sort of thing. But there's also a lot that are doing, work, right, that is not so easily compartmentalized. I mean, the largest group in the civil service are teachers, right? And so we cannot go about it with the quantitative approach that, you teach more hours to justify more pay, right? Or come up with incentives that is just based on quantitative metrics. We have to look at quality, right? And I think therefore it has to be something like this has to be implemented. But I mean, okay, before that, let me just say also, I mean, there is a basis theoretically, and I think empirical studies can also show, right, that paying people gives them more ownership over their work. It less absenteeism. It makes also, right, it's a higher cost, right, of losing the job. Or just in general, when people feel that they are valued for their work, then they put in more effort. But it has to be complemented. You can't just pay more and then there will be miracles. Expect the magic for higher productivity.
Okay, so what else needs to go along with the morale boost that a higher pay will provide? I mean, when you think about what reforms are needed for a civil service to be more effective, more transparent, more accountable, what would you like to see go along with the salary hikes?
Yeah, I think we start at the broader sense in terms of an ethos of what the public service is about, and I think that needs to be something that permeates more a cultural change. Again, I don't think that it's something that we can expect results overnight, nor do I think it is something that is very, very new. There's been, I think, movements along, and incorporating new modes of operating in the public service. I think we need to tailor make the kinds of incentives and rewards that are based on the segment or the departments in the civil service. And so if we could devise sort of monitoring or assessments and appraisals, right, that that can geared towards keeping track of raising quality, and also providing rewards, right, for those who really perform. And so it's hard to give just a one-off answer, because, as I said, I think it really depends on the kind of job, the nature of the work. But I think it's the approach really should be along those lines, right?
Okay.
That is something that is driven, right, towards making a civil service more effective and more efficient, but also based on the kind of job. That's how we devise different schemes.
Well, I'm interested to explore more about the trends that you've been noticing. So you talked about a leaner, more professional civil service, and I'm wondering, we also have we're awaiting details about the new EPF scheme for new recruits in the civil service. Do you see signs of progress, and where do you see the direction of the civil service moving in line with what you think should be the broader objectives of public service delivery in Malaysia?
Yeah, I have to be honest that I don't really have any basis to make a very broad assessment about whether or not there's been that progress. And as I say, I keep coming back to this because I think it is important to restate, right, that we have to be cautious about making sweeping statements. Things like, so it's not saying that, well, it's all becoming more efficient, but I think there's also certain stereotypes and stigmas about civil service being just very wasteful and inefficient. I think that is also grossly untrue. I mean, I think we can, anecdotally, we can visit different departments and you can really get a sense, right, where there is a certain vibe, right, a certain energy. And then there's some that you go that are also very lethargic. You can go to some departments and you can be impressed with how they have digitalized and improved their services, right? I mean, I think I've talked about this will be quite a common example, right? But passport renewals in Malaysia, I mean, it's the envy of other countries, right? But it's still something that I think can be held up, as a certain standard, right, for progress. We're moving, the civil service, towards delivering quality and also efficiency, good products and time efficiency.
Well, Hwok Aun, thank you so much for being on the show with us today and for sharing your insights. I appreciate your time. That was Dr. Lee Hwok Aun from the ISEAS Yusof Ishak Institute in Singapore, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching and good night.